double check to make sure that we have everything. Alright. It's looking good. I think we have everything that we need, so
Okay.
we are ready to go when you are.
Okay. I think it might be good to wait a little bit,
Yes.
right? For
Yes.
people to file in.
Yep. And let me announce it real quick on the Discord.
Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning. Connie, do you have what's your morning drink of choice?
Mostly it's like black tea with milk, honestly. Yeah, it's a pretty good one. I tend to wake up very late though, so oftentimes I just end up hurrying to work, getting something on the fly. Not the best morning routine, I guess.
Well, I guess I'm also similarly, so it's no judgment here.
I'm like one of those night owls. I can stay up late, but waking up in the morning is just
It's interesting because I think I hang out mostly with night owls, and then I'm like very much a morning person. But it also means that I have to be careful not to get in the vibe of the night owl, because I always wake up at about 8 in the morning, almost every morning, if it's not 7:30 or 8. So it doesn't
yeah.
matter what time I go to bed, I just wake up.
That's crazy.
No. Oh, okay. I'm a bit quiet. Let me adjust my levels here. Hello, hello, hello. How is it?
Test 1, 2.
Test 1, 2. Yeah. This is about making audio, so we're being very careful about the audio.
I love the Japanese sound checks. It's just ha ha
Ha
ha
ha
ha
ha ha.
ha ha
So, 1, 2, 3, ha ha ho ho ho.
ha 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 ha. I love it. It's just not testing any plosives.
Yeah. It's funny because I didn't think too deeply about like audio recording and sound until I heard someone really do a hard P in a mic, and I was like, oh, okay, no, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, we got 4 people online. Shall
Great.
we start?
Sure. If you're up for it.
Yep, let's do it.
Great. So, I'll just take it from here, right?
Yeah. Oh, actually, let me give you a quick introduction.
Okay.
So, everyone, welcome to the stream. My name is CJ, and with us here we have Connie, who has been who's been a jammer at our site for many years, and produces really awesome and high quality music and sound effects. And so today they're going to be talking about audio and games, and I hope that you can learn something. 日本語の方の方は、スライドも日本語になっておりますので、ぜひぜひお楽しんでください。はい。I think that is good for our introduction, so I will take it away. Take it away, Connie.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. Yeah, as CJ said right now, we're going to talk about audio and music and games. And we're going to go from the very basics. I want to make this accessible also for people who have not been practicing music. So we're going to also talk about stuff like that. And yeah, それもなんか日本語で、こんにちは。お名前はコニーです。出身はドイツ。今日は、今日の発表はだいたい英語で行いますけど、スライドは、日本語も、含めて、そして何か問題があればぜひご遠慮なくて、声をかけてくださいね。はい、よろしくお願いします。First, a little bit about myself. I'm 29 years old. I'm a German tonmeister. It's a specialized thing in sound and music production. I've done global game jams now for this year is my fourth time. Before that, I was a classical musician and have also recorded lots of jazz and pop recordings, as well as, of course, orchestral classical music. And right now, I'm here in Tokyo working as a dialogue editor for a game audio recording studio. So I come from the music part and got, as years pass by, more and more into the game audio and more technical side of things. As I said at the beginning, we're going to talk a little bit about music theory, just so you have some things you can think about and some tools you can use for making your own music and stuff. Then I'm gonna showcase really good software that is very like a standard in game audio, as well as very cheap at the same time, which is crazy to me. Cheap professional software, but well. And then I will talk a little bit more about sound for games, some tips and tricks, some general ideas and concepts that are being used when producing sound for games. So talking about music theory first, we're going to look at notes and what they're called. We're going to look at rhythm, and we're going to look at chords and harmony and chord progressions. These are, besides instrumentation, also the things that you should look at if you want to analyze something and try to work and produce in a certain style or genre. So breaking it up like this seemed like a pretty good way to showcase everything. First, we're going to talk about notes and nomenclature. The top stuff is typical sheet music. Sheet music as it is, of course, musicians use it a lot. We read it like a book, right? But for producing without previous knowledge, you actually don't really have to know everything about it. Just use the laser pointer to show you everything. What you need to know is that it goes from low notes to high notes, and you see everything on the piano keys. and every key has a name. That, as you can see with the C, starts to repeat itself after a certain time. So we have the C, D, E, F, G, and then A, B, C, and from there on it will repeat again. As you can see here. Why does it repeat itself? It's actually an acoustical thing. Every note is actually just a specific frequency on a hertz range. And if you double the frequency, you get the next higher note with the same name. So it's a little bit of math as well, if you want it to be. And the piano keys are the important thing for us to remember. We have the white keys, and then we have the black keys, and it's best to just know the sequence of the note names, so you can use them later for making your own music. Typically, we would just call this piano keys, but in music production, we have this big display, often in software as well, and call this the piano roll. So that's also like something you find often in audio software. How can we distinguish between a lower C and a higher C? We use indices like this, from 0 to 9 most of the time. The lower the number, the lower the note as well. So C3, C2, that's like bass line. Then we have C4 to maybe C6, which is the typical range for music. And then if you want to have like very high screeching stuff, you go to the 7, 8, 9s. We've been talking about the white keys as of now, but we also have the black keys in between. Those are shown in sheet music like this with a hashtag, kinda. Though we don't call it hashtag, it's a sharp. And basically you go from the key that is before the black note and you put a sharp to it. You level it up a little bit. So sharp mid. And like that you can get the names of the other black keys. So this would be C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp. We also have another name for it though. We would get very deep into more difficult music theory right now if we would talk about why we have two different names for the same note. But basically, if we just look at it from the perspective that we can go to the black note from two possible directions, which is from below and above, we can talk about C sharp. So C sharp mid going upwards, or D flat, D flatten it downwards. So going from that, every black note has actually two names: C sharp, D flat, D sharp, E flat, F sharp, G flat, and so on and so on. How does it look in our software? We have different tools and screens that we see in the software. So if we look at this thing here, this is a MIDI keyboard, virtual one, where you can either use your laptops or PCs keyboard with these buttons, press them, and play the instrument, basically. And we have this, which is, if we would open it up a little bit more, we can see it later on, which is the piano roll, where we can see the notes in the time of the song or piece that we're playing later on. As you can see here, up here, first you can see the indices for the notes. You can change the center note, so you have can decide the range which you want to play in, and at the same time you see always in which range you're looking at the moment, because you can scroll up and down on the piano roll as well. And up here you can always read the note you're hovering above. Like when I took this screenshot, I was hovering above the A sharp 3, so that would be a 3, A, and sharp. So I would have been hovering over this note when I took the screenshot here. And yes, that's the way you can read the notes on the piano roll on the MIDI keyboard, so you can find all the notes that are needed for your chords. Quick summary: we have 7 main notes, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, which are the white notes on the piano, and then we have 5 extra notes, which each have 2 different names, which represent the black notes on the piano. And then we have the index numbers, which show us the range in which we are looking at. Next, we're going to look at beat and time signatures. We're going to look a little bit at rhythm and stuff. We have beats, bars, and measures and stuff. And everything can also be set up in the software later on. So first we have these parts here. These are our measures, 4/4 and 3/4, 4/4, 3/4, which tell us how many beats are in a bar or measure. There's 2 different names. Probably UK and US, who knows? But basically, it's the question: how would you count a song? Is it a pop song? Most of the time, it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then sometimes you have like waltzes and stuff, which have a different counting, which would be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. These lines here show the end and the start of a new measure or bar. And you can see here you have 4 notes, and here you have 3 notes. And as well, you see these notes here filled up are worth one clap, and these are worth double, so 2 claps. So if we look here at the numbers again, we would be counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You can hear also, just with me counting, that the feeling changes as soon as you go in here, because most of the time the heavy feeling in a measure is gonna be on a 1, right? You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So this just changes the way music feels. We call it time signature. These are bars. That's also the Japanese names for it. And then up here we have the tempo. This decides how fast we're gonna count everything. So right now I've been counting pretty tame and lax. We could count faster though, and it wouldn't change what is standing here, just what is shown here as a number. These numbers here, the tempo is beats per minute. So with 120, we would have 120 beats, so these parts, in 1 minute. It's a BPM you might have heard before. So having a fast tempo would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and a slower tempo would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. We can find this stuff in the software later on as well. We have settings where we can put in the time signature and the tempo. And we have the timeline where we can read the different bars, so we can orient ourselves when making music. For here, for example, you would have 2.1 would be the second bar and the first beat. This is not labeled, but this would be second bar, second beat, third, second bar, third beat, and so on, going to the third bar. And below you have the seconds. So because this is 120 seconds, you get the beats on this like nice seconds. Okay, but that's everything we need to know basically for now about beat and time signatures. Just to get started, we have the tempo, which is the speed in which the music is counted. We have the bar, which is showing like the Kyoto, which heavy parts we have in a rhythm, and then we have the beats, which are the units within a bar. And lastly, of course, the time signature, which shows how many beats we have in the bar. Next, we're going to look at harmony and chord progressions. This is a little bit more difficult thing to talk about because it gets pretty complicated pretty quickly. We're just going to look at the basics, and I'm going to show you some tips and tricks how to get on with writing something without knowing everything about it. So a chord basically is 3 notes, at least 3 notes played at the same time or in a musical context with each other. If we look at this, we have, it's like a snowman. The basic form of a chord is a snowman, just stacking the balls on top of each other. We have the name for the chord, which is always the bass note for our snowman, which would be C in this case. Then we have the note names, which would be C, E, and G. And then we mostly look at the bass notes when writing chords. We can use the same notes and still stay in the same chord, but stack them differently. So if we take the C and put it on top, it won't be a nice snowman anymore, but it's the same chord. We just have a different note at the bottom now, which is the E in this case. For chord names, you would write it as this, like it's still a C chord, but with a slash we show the E is at the bottom. And the same thing would be here with the C and the G. We just took the E, we flipped it up, and now the G is in the bottom. This is the most basic way to write chord names. It can get pretty complicated though with time. And for that, I want to show you I want to show you this website, if it works. Of course, it doesn't work, but we can find it anyway. So, Tone Gym. This is called a Chord Player. And it is a website that helps you find notes and names and everything about a chord. You look for the root, like the note that is, as we've seen, like the bottom of our snowman. And then you have the different kinds of chords down here, which can, as you see, there's lots of different chords, and they can get complicated pretty quickly. But we're just gonna look at the standard C chord right now. We see the names of the notes that are in the chord, and we see where they are on the piano as well. And if we want to, we can do the inversions as well. You can see how the name of the chord is changing up here. It's now the C with E in the bass. Now we change it again, and we see it's the G in the bass, but it's still our C chord. It's a very useful tool. It's free. It's very nice. I can recommend. Going back in here, though, oftentimes when you look for inspiration, you might think of a song that you've liked very much, or that you want to, or you thought like, oh, this melody and this chord progression was really nice. I wanna see if I can do that as well. You can find these chords online, and you see, like, you have the lyrics here, and written the chords above it. So with the tool, the Tone Gym chord tool, you can actually just look it up immediately. Just C minor, okay, it's the C, M. We click it, we get our notes, we see them up here, and then we can kind of copy them into our work environment afterwards. And as you can see, all the complicated chords here as well, it's very easy to just look at this, go, okay, I need the D, and in with a sus2, and you immediately have your notes. Yes. This is a very good website for this, by the way, Ultimate Guitar. Or if you just use Google, write in the title of the song you want to see, and add chords to it. Most of the time, Ultimate Guitar will pop up as one of the first sources in the search engine, and it has lots of different chord things as well. So very, very good resource for making your own stuff. And you also don't have to copy the whole song. You can just take a chord progression that is interesting for you. For example, oh, I really like how the instrumental sounds, so I'm just gonna take this part. Or as you see, this CM is coming up here again. So maybe if you write it down until here, maybe it sounds nice, and you can loop it from here. Yeah, you can basically cheat the system a little bit without understanding everything about the chords. You can copy them in and then just play with them until they sound nice to you. A little bit more advanced way of looking at chord progressions would be to use the numerals here. So there's different chord progressions that are used very often in different kinds of songs. They just pop up again and again, just in different with a different bass note, kinda. And it's very popular to just use those and then um, yeah, use them as building blocks, kinda. How do we understand these numbers? If we look at the key or the note that we want to make the base of our song, here it would be C. We write all the notes until we get back to the C, and then we give them numbers. So C would be 1, D would be 2. Oh, those are a little bit not on the right place right now, but D would be 2, E is 3, F is 4, and so on and so on. And then you can stack your little snowman on top of each note and get chords and can work with them. So for this chord progression, I would use the C major as first because it's 1. Then it's 5, so I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, stack my snowman up here. So I would get G, B, and D as my G major here. Then I use the 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This note, stack my snowman, I have A, C, E, and then lastly 4, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, F, and stack my snowman and have the chord here. And you can, as I said, you can use a different note as a bass if you want to. So this is a very common way to work with chord progressions. Yeah. Chords and chord progressions. A short summary. We have chords in itself. They have at least 3 notes. They can have up to 6, 7 notes. The more notes you add to it, the more tension you add, basically. Chords can be stacked in different inversions, meaning putting the lowest note up and having a different bass note. And if that bass note changes, you write the chord name and then a slash and the bass note's name next to it. Then we have chord progressions, and they are played, chords played in sequence to kind of, I always say, paint a journey, because going from a very tension low chord and then going to something with more notes and more tension, you paint a kind of adventure, I feel like, with sound using that. By the way, there is also a chord progression thing in here, as far as I remember, at Tone Gym. They have, oh, here, it's the chord progression generator, which is very nice. They have different popular chord progressions in this naming convention kind of here. They have different names. You don't have to remember those, but it's interesting because it often indicates in which in which environment they're being used. And you can just we could look at the hard rock progression, for example. And you get all the chords right up here. You can change the bass line for it here if you want to as well. So you can see the chords which are being used up here if you want to. And like that, you can find lots of building blocks you can just use and play with for your chord progressions. Okay. We have talked a lot about music basics. I hope it was not too basic and at the same time not too complicated in the end. We're now gonna look at software basics. It's gonna be a lot more practical stuff. I've prepared some sessions which we can look at. But firstly, we can talk about the software we're using in audio in general, which are digital audio workstations, short DAW. There are there are lots of different DAWs for which are popular in different genres and kinds of work. I search, like I put 4 pretty popular ones in here. Audacity, you might have heard of it because it's a very easy free software, but has limited options to work with, but like a pretty standard thing. Then we have Reaper, which is very popular in game audio actually. Cubase, which is used a lot in film and as well as sometimes also in game audio. And lastly, Pro Tools, which is like the big guy in popular music production. Cubase and Pro Tools, being very official professional software, are rather expensive, to be honest. But we are gonna be looking at Reaper, as it is very handy. It's it feels like it's made for programmers, honestly, and for game audio, because it is very versatile. You can customize lots of stuff, and you have a very long and easy evaluation time with this software. It's it's not free software, but is, I think, $60 maybe, and it's a one-time purchase for professional licensing as well. So it's very good, and you can, honestly, the trial structure is made so that you can just try it as long and evaluate as long as you want to, as long as you don't use it for professional projects. And you have your own built-in things for your own scripts. So you can make your own plugins. You can script things that make your workflow easier, stuff like that. And for that reason, it's very popular with game audio people. Okay. If we look at audio, it's always a thing of thinking about a signal chain. We have our different audio sources, and we can combine them, and they will, in the end, come to the master channel, which sums up every audio source you add in, and this will be your final audio. You can send an audio track as it is just to the master channel. You can also take an audio track, send it to another track, put different effects on there, and send them to the master channel. You can also put sound effects right on the audio track here. Take a bunch of different audio tracks, sum them up in a mixing bus, which is just another audio track basically, and then send it to the master channel. In the end, everything ends in the master channel and starts somewhere with a single source signal that you can work with. What does it look like in the software? We have this is a screenshot of Reaper. right here, I've made some tracks. You can see the coloring. These are probably the same ones, right? Because it's the same color. Up here we have the timeline view, which is the different tracks and then shown in the time, the progression in time. And below we have the mixer view, where we can change the volumes with this slider, as well as do some other mixing stuff. You could generally, you can do everything you can do here, up here as well, and lots of stuff vice versa. But it's very nice to have the overview down here. So these are our tracks. It's 3 tracks right now. They're just shown here as well as here. And then what we always will have down at the bottom here is the master I've been talking about. This is where everything is going to be summed up. It's basically the same as the other tracks, but it's the endpoint. So it's very important to look that here everything will not go over 0 dB, because it's gonna be bad for your audio, and that you have good levels in here. As long as everything in here is good, then your track will also be fine most of the time. If we're talking about sending audio from and to, it's gonna be routing. It's called routing, and we can also do that in the mixer as well as in the timeline. It's either clicking here with a left click or clicking on this thing with a right click. Then this window will pop up and you can send and receive audio from here. This looks a little bit theoretical right now, so I think it might be best to just go into Reaper itself and look at some stuff. Firstly, this is a typical empty project in Reaper. It's also like default skin. This is how everything looks like when you first install Reaper. You can add tracks just by clicking the plus, or doing a double click, or going here, insert new track. And they won't be named. You just have to double click in here and name them. I'll name this test right now, and you see this one will be right here. You can distinguish them without naming them by their numbers right here. And if I want to record something here, I would first click on this record ready thing here, and already have my source from here. And then if I wanted to record something, I would go down here, click on this, test, 1, 2. Window pops up which says, hey, was this a good recording or not? I say save all, yay, and I have my recording right here. Stopping the record ready, and then if you play it back here, test, 1, 2, we have the recording right in our software. We could change the volumes now by using this slider. And because we have these are always default wise channeled routed into the master, we could also just go onto the master and change the volume for everything here. Right. Then we can put effects and virtual instruments into our tracks. You see here I've also already labeled stuff with like mic recording, MIDI instrument, etc., etc. And to access this, you go into these FX buttons, which are here and back, located here as well as down in the mixer as well. Click on it, this pops up, and you will see all the plugins you have available to yourself. What I feel is really nice if we go in here. Obviously, I have lots of different stuff that I also paid for as plugins, but these Cocos plugins are actually all Reaper plugins. So you have lots of different built-in effects and stuff that you can already use without buying anything, and you can use all these effects and stuff right from the get-go, which is very, very practical. What I would do, for example, when starting a project and wanting to make sure that everything, like nothing is overheating in case of volume, for example, is going into my effects for the master and then looking for limiter and just set that in. A limiter is basically a plugin that cuts everything that is louder than what I put in here, which would be 0. So I would just leave it in as is and not change anything here, and I would already be safe with my master track. I could add different stuff here as well. So this would be a signal chain in the master. If I wanted to, for example, put a delay, or which is repeating the signal later on, I could put that on here as well, though I don't recommend it for the master. You can put these kinds of effects on any track you want, and then also change the sequence in which they are being processed. So right now, first we would have a delay, and then we would have the limiter on this effects chain. Gonna remove it right now though. Okay, just looking back. These are the effects. Yes, we've been looking at recording already. Basically, we have to distinguish between recording a microphone and recording virtual sound. Virtual sound would be things like an instrument, a virtual piano and stuff. For that, we would have to do different settings, right? Because the source would be different. So we did this already. We clicked on the record ready, and then here below this will pop up, and we will decide what we want to record. Do we want to record just the audio or the MIDI, the musical information? Or do we want to record the sound that is being played out, which will sometimes be different because if you put effects on here, these will change, right? You will first have your input source, then the effects, and then you will have a different output because you put effects on it. So you will have to decide what you want to record. And of course, you will have to decide the input source for your channel. For example, if I want to record a microphone, I will select the microphone right here. But if I have a virtual instrument, I will not want to use my microphone, but record the MIDI, which is the musical data, from me playing the instrument. I can show you that as well. This, I think. Yes. So this is solo and mute. Solo would just make this audible, and mute would make this not audible. That's also a very, very helpful tool. So if you look at this, I make it record ready first, and then you see here, I've actually selected the MIDI keyboard and have in my effects here a synthesizer, which I've tuned a little bit. I've made used different waveforms and mixed them and put them in here. So this is my effect, and to make this be able to be played, I will then have to decide that I want to input some musical information, which is this here. This is the piano roll which we saw earlier with in the music theory part. These are different notes. You can see up here that the note that is being played is always being shown as well. And you can see how long they're being played. So right now, if I would be playing this, I have what is being played here. But if I want to record something new, I can just gonna get this out of the way and make this ready. Use this. Check here, it's recording audio or MIDI. Then we need under view the virtual MIDI keyboard, which we also already saw earlier. And start recording. Click again on the virtual MIDI keyboard, and then we can record some new lines. So if I play here already, you should be hearing notes. And I can also use not my mouse clicks, but also my laptop keyboard. Change the center note because this is very bassy right now. Maybe we go to 4. And then we can play a musical instrument on our keyboard, which is really nice. So I've set this up. I've made it record ready. And I will mute these so it doesn't sound too loud, just to be sure, even though we already put it in solo. And then I click record. I have recorded a very nice piece right now. I'm very happy. I save it and it's in here. If I listen to it right now, I might not be too happy with some things I did. So I can go in here actually, make it a little bit bigger and just change stuff. Maybe it shouldn't be as long here. This is too low. I don't like it. And I can just way better. And like this, you can, even if you do some stuff that isn't perfect, you can just rearrange it later on, and fix your mistakes when playing. I certainly am not the best at playing piano, so I always struggle and then end up editing stuff just here in the piano roll. It's just a double click into this, and then you have your overview and can change your notes. Right. This was lots of information. Are there any questions right now?
Yeah, that was really awesome. Thank you, Connie. While the chat is, if there's questions in the chat, feel free to post them. I do have a question for you, which is when you are making audio for Game Jam gamers, a lot of times people don't know how to describe music, so they'll say like things like "make it gritty" or like "make it bouncy." How do you translate? What's your process in translating those sort of like not very clear words into chord progressions and tones?
That's honestly the most difficult part, I feel like, of working with audio, because for visual media and stuff, we have lots of describing adjectives and words that most of us understand, right? But for audio, it's very intangible and difficult to grasp what the other person is meaning in the moment when you're talking about music. So the easiest way is to ask them for references. It's honestly the most important thing is first talking about references. What kind of sound are we thinking? Um, Most of the time when I start a game jam, I talk about the idea of the project, and then I start looking for games, for sounds, for music that I feel like fit the tone. And from that, I start analyzing, okay, which instruments are being used, which rhythms are used, and go from there, honestly. And then it's lots of trying stuff out.
That's brilliant. I love that answer. It reminds me a lot of like the way artists work too, is with
Yeah.
references and you know trying to figure out the theme between those references, like why someone picked those references.
Yes. It's lots of in the end it's also an art, right?
Yeah.
It's an art form. So it's lots of trying to understand the person you're talking with, or your group and your teammates, and the vision, kinda, and then trying to find the remarkable things about it, and yeah, putting them into something that resembles the thing you wanted it to be.
Yeah. So
For me as well, it's often I find some references. I um, try to find the right sounds, and in the end it's just a completely different vibe still, because I have just it's just the way my artistic flow in that moment just worked, right?
yeah,
So
yeah, that's really cool. Um, Another question is, do you have any tips for people for isolating sound? So the reference point is one of my friends is recording her voice, reading one of her books, and
mhm.
she was mentioning that she can hear her dog's feet in the background, like tapping on the wood floors.
Yeah.
So,
um
especially in a jam, I think there's a lot of ambient sound. How do you isolate your voice for that or instrument?
there's professional plugins. It's that honestly they're a little bit pricey, but I think there's some lower tier stuff as well. I can show you some stuff. Yeah, for example, maybe this, or we take this recording. It's all about restoration. RX is like the big industry standard, which has lots of different tools you can use to like get rid of clicks and crackles and stuff in the background. For your specific example, I think it might be difficult without tools like this, because it's about rendering and like getting specific sounds out. But if you have, for example, a not very good recording like this is not very professional right now, right? So if I make it a little bit louder, you will hear lots of white noise and stuff. You can still, without this kind of restoration plugins, maybe use an equalizer, which is a plugin that has the frequency range from low to high and can get rid of different stuff in your signal.
Oh, that's cool.
So for this, for example, I would just cut all the low end, because my voice is not very low. I would just cut it out, and then have not as much of a bassy.
Oh wow.
Bassy stuff like this. Might already hear difference.
Yeah.
So working like this for voice, it's very delicate because our voices are very different in frequency ranges. So you shouldn't just go in here and make big mountains and valleys, right? But something like, oh, I have lots of low ground noise. Putting in something like this, it's called a high pass filter, is most of the time really helping, like as a first step of decluttering your signals.
Very cool. Yeah. Thank you. That's
Sure.
hugely helpful, as even though I've been in jams for quite some time, I'm still very beginner when it comes to audio. That's so cool.
So I also put some stuff about how you can render your file, like export your file, which is maybe interesting. Like if you're done with your piece, how do you get it out of the software?
Yeah.
Most of the time it's just selecting everything from the timeline and then going to file and render, and then this pretty little thing pops up and gives you a heart attack.
So many options.
Yeah, it's too many options, but I tried to break it down a little bit. First is what you want to export. Is it like the master, which I talked about earlier, and is it the entire project, or is it the part you marked down, as I did right now? You can also use a single track as a source, and different stuff like that. Then we have the next part, which is the output, which just talks about where should the file go, in which directory, how should the file be named. There's also options where you can make different small sound effects as in your project, and then export every small like sound bites at once with this. So you can make a naming, make some naming rules here with the file name, as you can see here with project and stuff. And then you can decide where it's going to be rendered to. So put in the directory, then how the naming convention, and then it will show up here the path and the name for the file. The options part, I don't feel like it's necessary for a beginner right now, so you can skip that, just leave it as it is. And down here you can lastly say which kind of file you want. Do you want a WAV? Do you want an OGG? Even that you don't really like for game jams. You can just leave it as is. But WAV files generally they are the best quality, but they also need lots of space. So if you would be making a professional game with thousands and thousands of sound bites, you would probably think about using a different kind of format if space is going to be a problem. And then down the line, you can also choose to have the file you are rendering put back into the project, which can be practical if you say, oh, I just want to render this song and then cut it up into different parts that might also be looped or something else. And then lastly, you have the dry run, where you can just test what's going to happen to the file and how it will look in sound, in loudness. And lastly, the rendering itself. So there's lots of options in the render menu, which is why it's so popular with in professional audio, to be honest. But for a beginner, what's really important is mostly do I want to what do I want to export? What do I want it to be named? And then most of the time you just click render and it's fine.
Right? Cool. Yeah, thank you for walking us through that, because I agree with you that even though there are a lot of really good free tools out there, some of them are very different, like difficult to kind of grasp. There's so many different options.
Yes. I've been working with different DAWs before Reaper and just really got into it last year with projects I did at my work. So I already felt comfortable with this kind of software, but still I was struggling with different things that I just wasn't apparent for me at the beginning. So I feel like it's important to look at like this very basic technical stuff at the beginning as well, just to get a first grasp on how everything works, right?
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. Cool. So we could also, if there's interest, I also have prepared a little bit of stuff about song structures, typical things that are being done in game audio.
Ooh, yeah. I'd love to hear about that.
Like that. In professional audio with big projects, most of the time you're gonna be not only using your DAW for audio, but also an audio middleware. It's what it's called. So the DAW we've been looking at all the time right now. We've been putting some effects on signals. We've been routing stuff. We've been mixing stuff. When we have something, an asset that we are happy with, we want to have it in the game engine down the line, right? And have events that trigger the audio event. But for bigger games, let's take Zelda, for example. We would probably have an audio middleware in between that processes the audio files in between and changes stuff. For example, if you think about change of environment, we would have first footsteps, for example. We create dry footsteps, and we will have in the game engine, we would define reverberation spaces like inside a hut or in the woods or on top of a mountain. And then we would give this information, put the audio file into the audio middleware, and then define in the audio middleware the reverberation, the reverb that the footstep file is going to get for this specific part. So we would basically be using the same audio file of the footstep on the mountain, in the hut. It's going to be the same audio file, but it's going to be processed differently with help of an audio middleware. For small projects like in game jams, you probably won't be needing this. You can do lots of basic programming stuff in the game engine itself as well. For me, most of the time, I've been just making audio assets and then handing them to the programmer and praying that they will have enough time to put it in. Those audios most of the time last. But in a professional setting, most of the time you go through this process. When making sound effects, it's important that you try to level them correctly. It doesn't really matter which level for you, like as a beginner, but just that they have the same level in itself. So if I would have, for example, 3 different kinds of footsteps, one shouldn't be louder than the other. Just this basic, like a baseline of loudness for all your assets is a very good thing to do. And as I said right now, like you wouldn't just use one footstep, you would probably create variations of sounds. So probably footstep on grass, and then three versions of grass footstep, or 5 versions of grass footstep, and then footstep on gravel, and then combine that into different assets that you can use. And of course, what is very important is setting fades, which is being done here in Reaper, at least, by the software itself, luckily. So there's always this thing here, which is at the start and the end of a file, which makes sure that you don't have any clicks. It's basically sliding the volume from 0 to from minus infinity to 0. 0 would be the baseline, the normal loudness volume, and then minus infinity is just nothing, right? It's just making sure that because at the end it's just waves, right? We're just looking that these waves don't start anywhere that doesn't make sense, because then audio starts crackling. So making sure that these kinds of fades are on the right position and clean is a very important thing for audio asset creation. Going back to music, there's really easy ways of making your music also dynamic. We talk about vertical and horizontal techniques here. Going back to the Zelda game, for example, if you run around and nothing's happening, like the tension in the game is very low, so you would could make a musical score that just has slow drum beats and stuff that is just playing. And when an enemy sees you, for example, tension spikes. So you can put a second layer on top of this first layer that has a little bit more tension instruments in it. And basically, if you start fighting, then we get wire, brass, percussion in this example. The third layer that is, and these layers would be in the engine playing all the time, but be faded in and out depending on the intensity of the game. So you can make a very dynamic score that is never the same for each playthrough, just by layering different parts of your musical piece and defining levels of when is it going to be played, basically. And then if you look at the horizontal stuff, I made a little example right here, which is having a musical piece that has a set intro and a set outro, but say we are in a boss fight and we don't know how long this boss fight is going to last because it's depending on the player's skill level. You would have different parts that are being played after the intro and can be variated as well, and alternate and loop them until a certain game state is being reached, and then go to the next part of your song. So basically, your song wouldn't be just one sound file, but different sound bites that you then combine afterwards in your game engine or audio middleware. Yeah, those are very typical ways of making your music dynamic and reactionary to what is happening in the game itself.
That's really cool. I can almost visualize with the layering, like from the drum and bass to tension strings to a full orchestra. I'm definitely imagining Breath of the Wild.
Yes.
You know, the approach and when an enemy spots you versus when you're in an all-out battle.
Yes. That's like the bread and butter, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Going in and out of states and using those, which is also a big part of what's fascinating to me in game audio. This defining of rules that have effects on how your score is playing, basically.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is it, mostly. I have one last website, free audio plugins. This website here, audio plugins for free. Because in the plugins that you already have in here, the Cocos ones, which are wrote right, they are nice, but they like as a starting place, but not always easy to understand in UI. In the UI, where do we have the? Let's go in here. This, for example, it's just lots of slides, and you have to know what it is to really change stuff and everything. So it might be a little bit difficult to get into it because it's just also not very appealing, honestly, right? I don't know. But there's lots of different plugins that are free and you can just use, and it's not only instruments but also effects, and you can just look at different stuff. For example, if I go just 8-bit synth, sounds fun. We have here a Nintendo game, Game Boy 2 synthesizer that you can just download for free and just play around with. And yeah, lots of different stuff that you can try out on here. It's very nice for budget producing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as we know, the Game Jam's all about budget producing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to talk about.
Great.
I have also prepared a short sound design project that I've been working on. If you want to have like a short insight of what it looks like on a more professional level.
Yeah,
But
I would love to see that if you're willing.
Sure. The nice thing about Reaper is that you can also work with video. So in this instant, I've taken a game trailer from Final Fantasy XIV from some years ago, and there is also the official audio, but I've muted it and made my own sound design for it. And I think I first will show a little bit like how this kind of project is structured, and then we can listen to it. It's not the best, but it's like part of my portfolio. So you would for this kind of work, which is like cinematic cutscene stuff, you have different kinds of elements in your sound design that you have to look at, which is first ambient sounds, which is like the town, the map, moving things, water, wind, the bees in a meadow, stuff like that. Then all the different characters that are in the cutscene, which would be like passerbys, the soldiers, and as well as the main character. Then you would go into props, swords, pistols, guns. Are they drinking tea? Then you have to make a sound for the teacup and stuff like that.
Wow.
And lastly, HSFX, which are like high energy effects. Things like explosions, trees falling. I have here like some fire sizzling and stuff. I can probably maybe if we go in from here, you can see a little bit, and then I can solo and mute some different parts. And most of these sounds are from sound libraries. But for things like the Foley, like the clothes moving and stuff, I record everything myself. So these would be sound bites that I recorded in my room and then put on some effects. Like here you can see that I put some equalizing and like the low pass, high pass stuff I was talking about earlier, the equalizing stuff to make it a little bit cleaner, right? Yeah, I'm just gonna play a little bit and for you to get. Yeah, so that's a small part, and then if you would only listen to the ambience, for example, I think there's not much in there. You can hear a little bit of wind, characters. You don't hear a lot because you don't see much, right? Here you have, right, the close ruffling, then the props. And lastly, the HSFX, which only come in here, I think. Yeah, so there's just different kinds of sounds, and you put them. Oh yeah, you can see here, like there's all these that are like inched in. These are subfolders which route into the above folder, so I have complete control about of all the volumes, and can decide to make the wood sound a little bit bigger or smaller, but at the same time I can also say, oh, all of the HSFX are too loud. I can just change those and make them all a little bit smaller. Right. So stacking like this is a very good way, like making these mix buses, basically. It's a good way to mix everything together, make groupings that make sense, and then go from there. Right?
Yeah. The sword click at the end was very satisfying.
Yeah. I was really lucky because my workplace actually had custom self-recorded samurai sword recordings in their sound library.
Oh,
so
no way.
it took
Yeah.
full advantage.
I did wonder, like, how did they record that?
Yeah, lots of different really nice katakana sounds.
Nice. Oh, that's so cool. I also liked the way that from the moment that the bullets came from the gun to the way that it sort of coasted across your ears, right? Like as if you're right in the middle of the battlefield. Amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's been like these kinds of projects, they take hours, right? But it's a lot of fun. Like here, the first part is more environmental stuff. Right? So there's just so many different parts that you can paint kind of with audio, which I really like. Yeah, but that's just small stuff.
Yeah.
Looking at things like this transition would maybe be interesting sound effect wise, because I don't just use one sound for plunging into the water. But I actually have here water transition, one part that is very high, and then one part which is low range. So I combine and layer stuff that later on works together then.
Wow. That's super cool. I had not thought about splashing into the water having a high pitch and a low pitch.
Yeah, I think for sound effects, it's the easiest way to really sculpt your sound the way you want it, to go for a low, mid, and high sound if you have the time. Most of the time, you can be happy with just low and high. Or if it's not an important sound, you can also say, oh, we don't want the low impact because it's distracting or stuff.
Mm-mm.
So it's also a question about where you want to have the focus on of the scene to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to prepare all of these materials that were really, I think, personally very easy to understand and grasp for everyone. And
Great.
also just like giving us some insight into your thought process and thinking, because I think it'll help people kind of, I think, get over that mountain of adding in audio to their games. I think a
Mhm.
lot of times, as you probably have seen, many jam games just end up being like completely silent, which really I think takes away from the the actual like full bodiedness of the game, right?
I mean, it's like movies. You the audio is not necessarily always like top priority in itself, but the moment it's missing, um, there's a just a part that's making lots of 雰囲気なんだっけ
Like
um,
atmosphere.
atmosphere. Thank you. That adds to the atmosphere, and that is just very important. I feel. I mean, I'm an audio person. Of course, I think it's important, but um,
No, I would
I feel
agree.
also for game jams, um, a big onegai to the programmers would be to try and find some time for your audio person to implement stuff.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, same. I think it really is the difference between um, just like watching a movie and being moved to tears by a movie, which I think are very two different things. An audio
Yeah,
can just really change the entire sculpt of a game.
definitely, definitely. Yeah.
Um, I hold on, I had a thought and then I lost it. Oh no. Oh yes. So I was going to say that uh, Connie is going to be here at Global Game Jam, Let's Games Tokyo site, Global Game Jam next weekend. Oh my god.
It's next
It's
weekend.
next weekend. Um, and please feel free to hit them up for audio stuff. I actually was just thinking, Connie, that one of the diversifiers this year, which for context, there are things called jam site diversifiers, which are like little challenge modes. But one of them is being able to have a game that is played only playable by people who are unable to see, by
Yeah,
blind players, and I feel like audio would factor a lot into those kinds of games.
probably, right?
Yeah, so I encourage people to diversify their games, and I also encourage people to approach Connie at the jam and get their thoughts, feedback on the audio that you're making, or ask them to make audio for you.
Yes, please. I would be very happy to help you in any way if you have any questions. Also, like this week, if you want to reach out, I'm on Discord, also in the server
Mm,
of the Global Game Jam, and always open to answer questions and talk about audio.
cool. Excellent. And speaking of mentor sessions, our next mentor session is going to be on Wednesday, the 28th at 8 p.m., and it's going to be by one of our artists on the jam site, Jaren, and she's going to be talking about making art for games. So I really hope that Anybody who missed the stream, who's listening to the recording, will listen to Connie's recording, like of this session, and then also come to Jaren's, because with these two powers combined, your game is just going to be incredible. You'll have an amazing game.
Great power up.
Yeah, huge power up. Huge power up.
I'm really, really looking forward to Jaren's session.
Yes,
So
me
please,
too.
if you have the time, feel free to join.
Cool. Well, I will see you at the jam, and maybe this is sort of reference to last stream, but I mentioned wanting to make an RPG, so maybe we'll talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we can talk about it, of course. Sure.
Cool. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening in, and I will see you on this channel on Wednesday.
Yes.
Thank you
Can't
so
wait.
much, Connie.
Thank you as well.
All right. Take care.